Hi everyone. In this short video, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to install Python. So Python is the language we're going to use for this course. And the easiest way to install Python is to use Anaconda. So this is Anaconda, which is a Python installation environment and libraries. And the good thing about using Anaconda is that it is cross-platform. So no matter what operating systems you're going to use, so we don't need to worry about certain specifics about whether you are using Windows or you are using Mac OS or Linux, right? So that's why I would like to recommend that you all use Anaconda. Of course, if you have used Python already, of course, you can stick to it. Otherwise, I will use Anaconda to install Python, install the environment, and also install libraries for the environment. To do so, you just need to go to www.anaconda.com. Okay, so we can just go there. So then you can just download the Anaconda version and install. So assuming that you have installed Anaconda, then we are going to install Python. And when you install Python, that will need to go to an environment. So that's what we are going to specify. So after you install Anaconda, so you open it up, then you go to Anaconda Navigator. So that looks like this. Okay, so of course in here, later on, we're going to use certain things. For instance, we will need to use a Jupyter notebook, and that is the IDE we're going to use to create Python application. The good thing about using Jupyter notebook is that we can write text, okay, which is not part of the code. We can write text. We can also format text in a nice way. Okay, so because it is a very good tool for particularly for teaching or for documenting your application. And some people would like to use, for instance, you can use a PyCharm community, okay, so which and also is a good IDE, but then it does not support text formatting. And if you work in the area and you want to get more features out of it, then you may need or you may want to use a PyCharm Professional, but you need to pay fees for this version. Okay, now we want to install Python. So now we create an environment. Okay, so when we create an environment, then we can select which version of a Python we are going to install. So to do so, you go down here, you see a create button. So you create that. Then you see you have this Python, R. So we're not going to use R. And then, so what we're going to do is to install Python. And here you want to put a name here. So that indicates this is the environment that we are going to use. And we are also going to use this name to identify the kernel we are using. Okay, so for instance, if you are, so this is for our course, okay, you can create your course name here. or you can just say, okay, this is my Python. Right? So you can just say, so this is for demo purpose. You can use any name you want. So this is my Python. And so you can either select 3.9.12, or you can select some others. For instance, you can install earlier versions from 2.7.18 up to now. So of course, the newest version here is 3.10.4, and I think I use 3.8.13, or we can use 3.9.12. Let's say we select this, so we can now install the version. So because my Python could be different versions, so maybe I can just say, okay, this is a version 3.8. 3.813. Okay, so you cannot use start in the name, but of course, because I'm using a specific version, so I'm not going to use my Python. Instead, I'm just saying, okay, this is a Python 3.3-8-13, but I already have one here. So that means I already installed it earlier. So let's pick a one that I haven't installed, which then will be 3.10. Let me use 3-10-4 and create it. Okay, as you see now, we are having an environment called Python 3-10-4, so which is the one that I'm going to use. So it takes a little while to install this. So as you can see here, oh, okay, so this is done. So after this, okay, so you click this button, then you see I can open terminal, I can open with Python, or I can open with IPython, or open with Jupyter Notebook, but obviously these two now are not installed. So now we need to install this. So to install this, I can go here. So this is IPython. So I'm going to do a search. IPython. Python. It says also already installed. So let me just put notebook. No, it also says it is installed. So now let's see. Open Python. Okay, let's see what is being installed. So Python. So these are the installed. So let's look, say, not installed. And so let's look for IPython. So here it is. So now I find this IPython. That's what I want to install. Okay, so let's apply. And these then are all the things we need to install. So we don't need to worry about those. It comes in a package. So we just select apply, then we can install IPython. Okay, so now you can see here, I have this IPython. We can open it up. So you can also, you see I have IPy kernel. So this is the default kernel for Jupyter Notebook. Then of course you can also install this one if you want to. So let's hit apply. Okay, so then I install the kernel, but later on I'm going to rename this kernel to Python 3.3-10-4 because that's the kernel we're going to use for this version. So now I'm going to install book, Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so right here, notebook. So it should be the notebook. And that's what we want to install. Don't worry about the other ones. So I'm going to hit apply and apply. Okay, so now let's see. Now I see I have this Jupyter Notebook. So now I'm just click this. So that's the IDE we're going to use to create our application. Okay, so it's here. So now you will need to enter your password. So it's this. Okay. Yeah. So probably we can just save it. All right. So then, as you can see here, so these are the directory on your local machine, depending on where you're going to install your file. And you can open it up. For instance, for me, I'm going to use documents and documents and also courses. Let's see where it is, courses. And so these are the courses. And then I have this code there. Then you can go down there to create this. And also you can see when I create a new notebook, and then I need to indicate which kernel I'm going to use, right? So here are these kernels. So we got Python 3.9.12, Python 3, and this is the other courses. Now I want to rename my kernel to be, I have a kernel to be 3.10, 3-10 and -4. So that's what I'm going to do. In order to do that, you go back to Anaconda notebook navigator, Anaconda navigator. So we're going to go see this open terminal. So this terminal is particularly for 3-10-4, right? So we are going to set up a kernel name. So let's go back to my Word file, which is, okay, so we've done this. So now we're going to set the kernel name. So you just move down here. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to use this installation. So we just copy this thing and go to our terminal. So we install this. install that. Okay, and then we go back to copy the second line, but this time I need to change the kernel name. So let's just copy the first line. I'm going to change it. So I'm going to go to this. So I'm going to change the name to Python 3-10-4. Okay, so now let's go back to let's go back to our notebook. So Lobo is a website, is a web page. So, and we can run it here. So I guess I need to create a new one because this is the old. So we can just log out and create a new one. So go back to Anaconda under here. So open it up. So create password. Okay, so now we see I have this new kernel. So now we can just open up. And so this is the IDE to enter Python code, for instance, the hello world. So this is a simple line of code, so that prints a hello world. And of course, you can hit the run button here. Then you see this is the output hello world, right? So Python is a very easy language to use. So this is interpreter, so you can write one line of a code and you can run it. You don't need to declare any variables. So there is no declaration that you need to do. So just basically just like doing math. So you just write something up, right? So the other one we can do, for instance, there are several things that we can do here. For instance, if I want to create a nice text, so I can change this code to, so change this cell to markdown. For instance, I want to create a title. So this is title. And so then I can run it. Oops. Right, so when you run it, then you see you have a title here. Okay, so that is why Jupyter Notebook is really nice to have a formatted text to talk about or to explain what the code is doing, that kind of thing. So that's what we are going to use. Now there are other things that we can do. So now we have already set up the environment. Okay, so obviously you can also do, particularly we need to install some libraries because that's the things that we need to do. So for instance, the libraries that we want to install, and I mentioned a few here, like pandas, NumPy. We already done Jupyter Notebook. We can also do NLTK, map, matplotlib, and spaCy. So these are the things we want to install. So you can install them in two ways. That I would go, for instance, go to Anaconda. So I'm still under this environment. So now I can choose, let's say NumPy Okay, so as I found this, so the NumPy is here, then I'm going to install this. Okay, so hit apply. Oh, by the way, NumPy is a library for us to do numerical computation, right? So that's why it's called NumPy. So num stands for number. So NumPy, so now we have this install. The other way you can install this is you go to a terminal and using Anaconda install and then followed by the package name. So then you can also install that package. Sometimes you may need to use, instead of using Conda, you can use a pip3 and also install, and then the package name. So I'm not gonna install them here because it may take a little while. So this is a quick introduction to installing Python, to install to specify the environment and also to install libraries that when you need it. So whenever we need something new that has not been installed under our current environment, then we can install this pretty easily. Okay, so the other thing I would like to mention here is that sometimes you find yourself need to run a different version of a Python because some applications are written for that particular Python. Then, of course, you can create multiple Python versions by creating different environment. So that way you can run the different versions of Python. Okay, so one last thing. Let's see what we need to do here. Okay, so one last thing is that, remember I enter password for my Jupyter notebook. So just in case you forgot, somehow you forgot the password, then you can set that one up by using, so you go, okay, so isn't mentioned here, but I think it's mentioned in a different file on Jupyter Notebook. So let's just go back to Anaconda. Let's say I want to change my Jupyter Notebook password. So you go to terminal. So then what you would do, okay, oh, by the way, so this is the terminals that's the same, but it's just a different copy. So you can just say Jupyter password, then that allows you to enter your password. This, and you got yourself a password. Okay, so that is what I would like to talk about, and then you may want to look at some other things in this file, and then just go through each item. Okay. Thank you for watching.